The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is www.black-duck.com. You'll find the videos and the PDFs of the code there in most cases. The video is Enumerated Types. Well, what are enumerated types? Well, in short, they are data types you create. You name the data type. You specify all valid content to the data type. For example, you create a data type called radio shows. You add in all the valid radio show names you will allow in this data type. Dragnet, Fibber McGee and Molly, Lux Radio Theater, and so on. There's hundreds. Now, once a data type has been created, you can use it in code. You might create a variable called Great Shows and assign it to the radio show data type. Once you've done that, the only items you can put in the Great Shows data type, or Great Shows variable, are the ones you define when you set up the data type. And this works great because anything other than what you designated cannot be added to the variable or it will generate an error, which you can trap. The downside is, if you wish to add more radio shows to your data type, you have to recompile the program. Might be better to read the valid names into an array and compare the array to user input. But that's just me. In fact, I've never really come across a good reason to use enums in preference to some other form of data storage and coding. Let me show you how they can be used though, and then you can be the judge yourself. We're going to take a look at something now that I consider as limited value. It certainly is valuable for some people, for some applications, but primarily I don't find it as useful as just regular straight coding. So we're going to see that though, so I'll show the differences here. It's called enumerated types. An enumerated type is a programmer-defined data type. It consists of a predefined constant known as enumerators. Enumerators represent integer values. So in other words, you set up an enumerator and it's got an integer value in it, which is just some kind of string. When you create an enumerated data type, you specify a set of symbolic values that belong to the data type. An enumerated data type declaration begins with the enum keyword, followed by the name of the type, followed by a list of identifiers inside the braces. And let's try to make some sense out of that. Example right here, enum day. We're creating an enumerator called day. We're creating a data type called day. And it's going to contain Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we're putting in there. But that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are going to be represented by integers. So Sunday becomes a 0. Monday becomes a 1. Tuesday becomes a 2, and so on down the line. Inside the braces, it identifies this as Monday is an enumerator. Enumerators are constants that represent integer values. The value of day.Sunday is 0. Day.Monday is 1, and so on down the line. Okay, now is that beneficial? Maybe. You're going to see this. I've got a couple of examples that are going to show as we go through it. Enumerator declaration can appear outside the application's namespace or inside the application's namespace or inside a class. Once you've created an enumerated data type, you can declare the variable of that type, day, workday. Here we're setting up a workday data type, or actually it's a day data type called workday. And it can contain Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Nothing else. Our enumerator back here specifies that day is going to contain Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, represented by 0, 1, 2, and 3. If we set up a workday, the only legitimate values we can put in workday are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Nothing else. So that's an advantage when you're actually working with enumerator data types. If something else is put in there, the compiler is going to kick it out. It's going to give you an error. So if you try to put in, Pirate Day in there, it's not going to take it because it doesn't exist in there. You can add it here as the enumerator, but you cannot add it here as a workday type thing. Still confusing, I know. To assign the value day.Monday to workday, the variable, use workday equals day.Monday. That's why we can say day.Pirate Day. That's not going to work. That's going to die if we try to do that. But day.Monday does work because we defined it in the enum. Enumerators and enum variables also support the toString method. So message box show day.Monday toString will actually kick out the word Monday. Enumerators are integers, but you cannot directly assign an enumerator to an int variable. You need to use a cast operator. Int value equals int day Friday. That'll change day Friday to, what is that, 5? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6. Okay. Yeah, 0 through 6. 0 through 5. It would be 5, yeah. It would be a 5. So that's supposed to be there. Now, it does say here that it needs to be assigned to an int variable, but you can use other numeric types as well, but you have to specify them. The default is int values. You could put a string, not a string. You could put a long in there or a decimal, but you have to actually specify it. An enum variable can be converted to int. Day.workday equals day.monday. Int value is int workday. So we'd end up getting Monday out of that thing. Before we were saying that if you put in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you'd be assigned 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or, 0 through 6, whatever. Here you're actually specifying January 31, February 28, March 31, April 30, May 31, June equals 30. So you're going to have some redundancy there. Enum month days are January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all the way through December. And their integer is what it says right there, 31, 28, 31. That's duplicates. So by saying I want month days dot January, it'll be equal to the 31 data type. But so will March, month day dot March. Still confusing, isn't it? Let's take a look at some real examples. What I'm going to do here is just create a little bit of a form, and I'm going to put a number of things in it. I've got them already pre-set up, so I can kind of just place them on there for you, and so you can see what I've got here. What I've got is I've got a panel. And it's just called panel 1 because I'm not using encode at all. And within that panel 1 are 3 radio buttons. And they call them rad unknown, or radio button unknown, rad male, and rad female. And did I do anything to them other than changing the font? No, I think I made the font bold and I made it a 10 so we could actually see it there. I also have a label down here called LBS sex checked. Now, this is not going to do much. What I'm going to do for this program, I'm going to go into the code itself, and inside the class form, I'm going to set up the enumerator called gender. And it's going to look like this. So enum, gender, and I've got unknown, male, and female assigned to it. That means that unknown is 0, male is 1, and female is 2. And those are the only things I can put inside gender at this point in time. I'm also going to create an integer called int sex. And we're just going to leave that one alone. It's simply going to be an integer that's going to hold that value. Now, what I want to do is I want to go into my radio buttons. Each one of these radio buttons. I've got them named, as you saw before, unknown. I want to double click on it to get its changed event. And it comes up like that. And then what I'm going to do for the rad unknown changed event is I'm basically going to say that the label sex changed is going to be equal to gender unknown. So I'm taking gender unknown and applying it to this label. Big deal, right? Isn't too much of a deal there. Okay, we're going to do the same thing to the other two things. This will become male, and this one will become female. Oops, I can put the L in front of this thing. There it is. Get that in place. What happens when I run this? When I run it, I can click on any of these checkboxes, radio buttons, and what it does, it finds what the value is and puts it in there. What's it actually doing here? What it's actually doing is it's simply looking at the item that's been checked or been changed, basically, and it's simply saying that gender unknown is going to string. Not too big a deal. I'm going to actually compare this to not using that, not using the enum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another set of identical objects and put them up here like this. In this case, I've got another panel here. It's panel 2. And I've got unknown here, but this is going to be rad unknown 2, rad male 2, and rad female 2. And I've got LBX sex change 2. In this case, I'm going to go into these guys and do the same thing I did before. I'm going to look at the changed operation here. So we'll go into unknown. And what I'll put in here is label, oh boy, I'm having trouble with the first L, aren't I? There we go. Unknown. I'll go into male, and we'll go in, we'll apply this to it. Just make the label say this thing. And we'll go into female. And we'll apply this to it right here. And we'll do a file save, save all. We'll do a run. And if I click on unknown here, we got unknown. Male, male, female, female. No difference into how it actually works, except you're using the enumerator in this first thing, and you're simply using values in the second thing right here. The big difference here is that the first piece, this piece right here, you can only apply unknown male and female to it by using the gender male string. You cannot use anything else. That's all there is. Here I'm actually specifying unknown male and female. There's nothing to stop me from changing this to Tasmanian devil, Daffy Duck, whatever. Up here, I need to use the gender. Otherwise, it's going to give the compiler an error. Well, if you don't use the proper things that has been assigned up here. That's the advantage of the enum, but it doesn't seem like a lot of advantage right now. So let's go take a look at a different example. Well, we're going to start to use a list and start to compile some properties. And I'm going to apply all these things to it that I have tested already on another application so we get an idea of what we're actually trying to do here. And what I've got here is I got a bunch of stuff. I got a bunch of labels here, first name and last name, which are nothing more than label 1, label 2. I've got a panel here called a group, actually. I used a group called group sex, and it actually has a label on top of it. But inside it are the radio buttons, rad unknown, rad male, and rad female. I also have a list box called LBX stuff, and I've got the add button, the list button, and the exit button sitting here. All defined: button add, button list, and button exit. What I want to do in this case is go into the code on here, and in the form class, I want to create the enum gender again. So once again, I've got an enum called gender. It has unknown male and female in it. That's the only items I can assign any kind of data type, any kind of variable I want to create with a gender data type. It's going to only hold unknown male and female. That's what's going to limit it. Now I'm also going to create a structure. Right under here, I'm going to call the struct person. And it's going to have a string first name, a string last name, and a gender sex. So it's got the gender data type here. We're going to call that data type sex. And it can only hold unknown female and male inside here. That's why we're using this particular thing. We're also going to create a list. That list is called list persons, based on the structure persons right here. It's going to be called list of people, new list persons. So list of people will be our list. And it's to create a list of those persons structure is what we're going to be doing. So it can hold all three of these things. Now what I want to do is I want to create something to add this stuff. I'm going to go into here and I want to grab the name and the last name, first name, and the sex and add it to my database. So I'm going to go down here and hit the button add to create an event. And there it goes. There's my button event. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a variable called new record, and it's going to be equal to new person. So I'm basically creating a new record that's going to be based on the person structure. So let's just go ahead and say that. And then I'm going to grab those things. I'm going to basically say new record dot str first name is equal to txt first name dot text. That grabs the first name. New record dot last name is equal to txt last name dot text. So that brings that in. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a set of if statements here. I'm going to say if rad female is checked. Get these brackets in place here, braces in place. New record dot sex equals gender female. Then I'm going to say else if rad male is checked. New record dot sex, whoops, spell it right, is equal to gender male. Else, we can use these guys that we actually have down here now. New record dot sex equals gender unknown. That's it. I'm then going to list of people that add new record. We'll add new record to the list. I'm then going to clear off txt first name dot text is equal to txt last name dot text is equal to, and rad unknown check is equal to true, and txt first name dot focus, and that will set the focus. So we'll go back and we can simply add things like that. It should work right now. We'll actually get to see this thing. Save all, run it. And I'm sure it does. Put in Daffy Duck. Tab down here. and he's going to become a male, and we can just go down to add him. Then we can do a Tweety Bird. I have no idea what Tweety Bird is, so we'll make Tweety a female and add. And that's it. I can't see it though. I want to put the list into place here, so we're going to do that next and pop that in. So, and this exit doesn't work either, so we'll just cancel this out. We'll go to our list button, and we'll provide that list. And that list is fairly simple to do. I'm going to create a str dummy in here, string. And then I'm going to set up a loop for int equals 0, I equals list of people I count, I plus plus, and set up our loop. So this is going to be our loop. It's going to, let's give it a comment right here. Loop through the list. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to go here. We're going to say that str dummy is equal to list of people I a first name plus a space plus, we'll go on to a second line here, list of people I dot last name plus space plus list of people I dot sex to string and end it. And then we'll, in that same list, we will go ahead and set our lbx stuff dot items dot add str dummy. We'll add our concatenated version of our list to that list, and we should see everything come out in our list here, including the first name, last name, and whatever sex that person is. I want to go here and go ahead and do our exit button real quickly, and we'll just pop these things right in there, and we're good to go. So to file save, start, whoops, build errors. Where are my build errors? Yeah, I see I got a build error right there. Oh, that's a problem right here. Semicolon sitting in there. Got to back that up. That's going to be, and I got one here too. That'll cause a problem because it's ending the line. We can add, now we're fine. Now we're looking good. Okay, so now we're ready to actually try this thing. File save all. We'll do a start. We'll try our Daffy Duck. Make Daffy a male and add him. Elmer Fudd. Elmer's a male, add him. Petunia Pig. She's a female, add her. And Tasmanian Devil. We have no idea what that person is, so we'll leave it unknown. Put an add there. Now my list should just work fine. And if I click on this, it brings up Daffy Duck and the male. It brings off those counterpoint. What's it actually doing? On the list, it's actually going through and grabbing this stuff and grabbing it. So what it's doing, it's grabbing the first name, grabbing the last name out of the list, and grabbing the sex enumerator, the sex data type that I created that can only hold male, female, and unknown in it. And it's applying that to string, and we're getting this thing to pop out. That's what it's doing here. What's the big deal on this? You know, again, if you use something other than male, female, or unknown, the compiler is going to crash and your program will not work. And so you'll have to fix it. If you use something else, you can certainly use anything and create all kinds of things. And I can do that very quickly by kind of showing you a comparison. If we go ahead and create another application, I'm going to leave this one back here. I'm going to bring this over the top of this guy. We'll make him roughly the same size, make him a little bit bigger. Maybe we'll put him over here like this. And I'm going to grab all of the pieces that I need for this particular thing to put in there, and I'm going to lay these on here again. I'm not going to change any names. They're all going to be the same names we had before. You can see this is rad unknown, radio button male, and so on down the line of TXT first name. But what I'm going to do is I want to change my code this time. So instead what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to create an enum. I'm basically going to create my structure. And this time my structure is going to contain first name, last name, and an integer called int gender. I'm not going to use the enum at all. We're going to allow any integer to pop in here. And any integer, 99, 746, whatever you want. We're also going to create that list. And what I'm going to do differently this time is I've got my stuff all set now. We're going to have that add button created. So we're going to go down to the add. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Say var new record is equal to new person. Then new record dot str first name is equal to txt, first name.text. New record dot last name.text. Then if rad female is checked, new record dot int gender is equal to 2. That's what females are, 2. Else if rad male is checked, and then finally else new record int gender is equal to 0. And we can leave it like that, or we can pop it on down here just to neaten it up a little bit. And it's all set to go. So that actually puts in those things I need. We're going to go ahead and do our list of people then and pop it in there. Our focus, all that kind of stuff is going to be changed. So we'll pop this in right here, which is going to add the new record to our list, and then it's going to apply these things to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and again, this thing is going to work at this point in time. But let's go ahead and do the list button right away and apply that. And this time we're going to say string str sex is equal to quote quote string str dummy, and then we're going to say int sex, int or integer for sex, and it'll be sitting there. Then we'll do our loop for int equals 0, int less than list of people count, and then swing that through, and we've got our list. And in there, we're going to say that if, we're going to say int sex is equal to list of people int gender, to bring in that integer into the int sex that variable. Then we're going to interrogate it. If int sex is equal to 0, str sex is equal to unknown. Else if int sex is set equal to 2, is equal to 1 rather, str sex is equal to male. Else str sex is equal to female. Clean this up a little bit. That's interesting that I had this thing spelled wrong. Had I been using the enums, it would have caught that and not allowed it. So it would have actually caught that. So one of the benefits of having enum is it'll self-check that. So unknown would have actually died right there. We can now say str dummy is equal to list of people I dot str first name plus list of people I str last name plus str sex period. ALBX stuff dot items dot add str dummy, and that takes care of it. Items, what's wrong here? Capital I. And let's go ahead and put our exit button in there right away, and we should be good to go. I'll save all. We'll put in Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Petunia Pig, and Tasmanian Devil. Leave him as unknown, and do our list. And we get the same thing pop out. Male, male, female, unknown. So the same thing is working, and we're not using the enum. Now what's the difference here? Well, let's kind of close this thing off a little bit and take a look. If we bring this together, and copies of this will be available. So what you're looking at, everything's the same here, except here we're creating the enum gender, and we got the struct, and we have the struct person being set up here. Here we're just using the person struct. That's all we're doing. There's no enum in here whatsoever. Our initialized form's the same. Our button add then looks something like this. We're looking at the button add. Our variables are the same. Bring in the new person, adding that kind of stuff. We are looking at the if statement, doing the check value, and we're actually putting the gender female. We're using the enum involved here. Here we're actually putting the numbers 1, 2, and 0, 1, and 2 inside here to check on that. And then later on, we're just storing that. And then we're going ahead and in our list, we're doing all that extra stuff in here to actually check the unknown, what it is, so we can actually kick out the same item either way. Using a little bit more code here. Not much more, but a little bit more code. This is error prone. If you use something other than male or female or unknown, it'll actually take it, whereas this will stop it in the compiling version of that thing. But overall, I don't see the great savings you get by using enums in an application than just using your standard code and using your good checks to make sure that the right pieces of code are going in there. So that's why I have a hard time justifying the use of enums and don't really use them too much. In fact, rarely have I used enums at all. And you'll find them in all languages. They're out there in Java. They're out there in Python. They're out there in C#, as you can see. So they are there. They're there. If you take a look on the internet and study it and try to find out what's going on here and start asking the questions as what's the advantages and disadvantages, you don't get a lot of answers. What you get a lot of is that it helps your code won't crash or will crash if you use the wrong enums in there. So it's checking for that so you get the right stuff in there, which is supposedly a help. And supposedly it's clearer to someone looking at your code to see what you're actually doing. I don't agree with that. I think a programmer that's going to go in is going to trace the stuff and figure out where I mean male, female, and unknown in my if statements as well as my enum statement. So I don't think there's a big trade-off there at all when you're using that kind of thing. Again, though, take a look at this and try to use it, see what you like about it, and remember that it's there. It is a tool, and you may run into an application where this is very, very necessary to use. Because you can set up your own data types based on certain values you want in there, and the only values you want in there. If you're collecting radio shows, you might end up creating a data type of valid radio show names so that wrong ones don't go in. Great for spelling checks when you get right down to it, because somebody can't put in, let's see, think of radio shows. I collect them myself. If you think of Dragnet is a radio show. If Dragnet is spelled D-R-A-G-N-E-T, Dragnet. If you were to spell it differently, D-R-A-G-N-E-Z, Dragnez, it would accept it in this program right here. I might not catch it because I've got a check for it here, but it would actually allow you to add it as a variable. Here it won't, because the enums are going to check that and cross that, not let you actually put in Dragnez because it won't match. It won't go into the data type that's valid. So what you're really doing when you think about it up here, you're actually setting up a data type called gender, and it can only have these values. So every time you set up a new data type based on gender, it can only have those values. If I set up a data type of radio shows and add up all the radio shows that I've got, there's thousands of them, put all those different names in there, I'd be creating a data type with those valid names in them, and they'd be assigned a number. And then if I had a data entry program that would allow those to go in, and that data entry from, instead of a string, it was a enum called radio shows, and I tried to add in Dragnez instead of Dragnet, I would get an error. It would actually kick out. But I could trap that error and then say there's something's wrong. Just to spell this thing does not exist. Invalid data type, something of that nature. So there is validity there in being able to really track your data. I may try that. I may actually try to write. I have a program on old-time radio shows that I wrote. I actually wrote it in COBOL 1,000 years ago and modified it to, I think, BASIC at one time. Certainly Visual Basic. And there may even be another language in there that it was at one time that I actually used it. I've been doing it since the 1970s, so that would be we go way back when it comes to that kind of stuff, if you think about it. But that's enums in maybe a fairly large nutshell. I'm not sure it answers all the questions, but it kind of shows you that these are data types they're creating, and so it is a structure, and it may or may not be useful in your program, but it's something to consider. So in most cases, it's probably something you're not going to use, but there are valid things that you can use them for. So that's why we have them there. That's it for now. We'll take a look at dictionaries next. Enums. There they are. I must admit, when teaching programming classes, to save time, the enum chapter is often skipped. But when writing applications in the field, you never know what you're going to come across, and any tool could be helpful. Put this one in your toolbox. If you need it, you have it. Next, we'll examine dictionaries. So thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance. And please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you next video. Take care.